In this moment, it doesn't matter if you save money in 15 minutes or if your neighbor has the same insurance that you do. What matters right now is the quality of your independent insurance agent and the company that stands behind them. Auto Owners Insurance.
Bennett Johnson Insurance Agency in Alma is your local independent auto owners insurance agency.
At Family Vision Care, we believe life is all about your vision. Family Vision Care is the leading provider of optometry services and vision care products in the Alma community, and we want to help you achieve and maintain a clear vision for years to come. Doctors James McQuaig and Blake Hutto and their staff provide award-winning eye care service for Southeast Georgia. With the newly constructed office filled with state-of-the-art equipment, they can diagnose and correct your vision with detailed accuracy. Visit www.fvcalma.com.
Good evening. Welcome to the Red Raider Coaches Show. My name is Brent Johnson. Along with me is head football coach Kyle Langford. I want to welcome you to the 5th edition of the Red Raider Coaches Show. I want to start off by thanking some gold sponsors for being a part of our program that help make the wheels turn every week, every day. As a matter of fact, all season long. That's Jay's IGA, Burt CPA, Access ATC, Clean Air and Electric, Bacon County Hospital System, Lassiter Tractor, Bennett & Johnson, and we can't forget Mr. Ted Murray with Industrial Forge and the Blueberry Inn.
I tell you what, that Burt Field sponsor sign looked real good.
It did.
Got a brand new stencil on that after a little confusion the first time, and Miss Chelsea down there at the News Courier got us that hooked up, and boy, it looked real good. And it's clear to anybody that watches it or was at the game who sponsors our field, and we're certainly proud of that, and we want to let them know how proud we are by people seeing it.
Well, Coach, you mentioned the field. I want to comment on something. I know this field has never looked better. It has looked fantastic. I know it's a combination of a couple of different people. I know Mr. Scott, Jimmy Scott, spends some time spraying and doing that sort of thing, but you guys cut that grass and keep it looking. I mean, it just looked immaculate last Friday night. One more time.
It's perfect playing conditions, and Mr. Scott Taylor and the superintendent, they spent a good deal of money making sure it stays. I mean, we've got a beautiful school, beautiful campus, beautiful fields, and the good thing is they spend it on all our fields. It's not
That's right.
And they're very proud of what we got, and I am too, and we want to make sure it's the best. I mean, and I believe it is the best of any school around, you know.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Well, Coach, who fed our boys this past Friday before this big game?
The pregame meals at Lee's Chapel, and if you've ever been to Lee's Chapel for any kind of eating, they tend to go a little overboard sometimes. And I'm telling you what, we had grilled pork chops and salad, and it was mashed potatoes. It was the full works, and but them people out there, they a little farther out, and they like to pile it on now. And so it was good as always, and it was just really, we had a great message and a great time of fellowship, and really set us up for have a good night too. I thought we were in a good frame of mind after we left out there.
Well, Coach, it was a big week last week, as we discussed in the previous coaches show. A lot going on. A lot with the homecoming festivities, during the school day. You know, the kids do certain things after school. We have the dress-up days. They get fired up for that. And then we had the homecoming, kind of culminated Thursday with the homecoming parade. And the boys pile up on the fire trucks. And we got, you know, the homecoming court and all the floats and all this stuff. And then, you know, comes Friday, game day, homecoming. And it's a big game anyway. But on top of that, we had a huge Region 2 opponent coming in, first game of the region schedule, none other than Jeff Davis Yellow Jackets, who is a huge, probably our biggest rivalry.
How about, would you say, I would say probably the most bitter rival. I don't know if it's any bigger than Pierce, but it's certainly a little extra effort involved in that game, and it was a good game for us, a good game to start this region season out in.
Well, I was going to ask you, did you have any trouble motivating these kids to be prepared for this game?
No, we and people would be surprised, but we didn't talk about those guys for 2 weeks. We haven't talked about them. We don't talk about Jeff Davis. We're not going to talk about Toombs this week. We talk about the Bacon County Red Raiders, and they're very smart, and our guys know. So what's the need of me throwing extra fuel on the fire? They don't need that from me. I almost do the opposite. We kind of, distract them from who we're playing and try to narrow in on what we've got to do every week. And I think that's really important for us because if you're just going to play hard when you play certain teams, then you're not going to be a very good team. But if you play hard every week and you just sort of get that tunnel vision, then I think that's when you can be a little more successful. So for us, it really was not that big of a deal. I don't remember anybody saying anything about it like, oh, let's go get them. No, it was none of that. Everybody was sort of calm and cool, and then we got that thing popping off, and things started going our way.
That's right. Coach, we started out the game not quite like we wanted to. First play, we fumble. A couple plays later, they're in the end zone.
Sure.
But probably out of everything that happened, and we got a lot of things that we'll discuss in that game, a lot of highlights, that second possession set the tone for that game when we got that ball back and carried it down the field and scored.
They score on a 20-yard field.
Sure.
Which is, congratulations to them, but we kind of set it up for them. But then we get it back and we go 70 yards, and it was pretty quick, probably 70 yards in 5 or 6 plays, and had a couple big catches in there, and ran the ball okay. Protection I thought was good on the first drive. So we went down there, and I think that at least gave us a chance to catch our breath a little bit for a period of time anyway, at least to the next series for us. But and I thought the defense really played good, that second defensive series too for us.
Well, at that point we go down and score and we get that touchdown, and then boy howdy, the crowd, the sidelines, the band, the coaches, you guys I saw a lot of enthusiasm out of that booth up top, way back where I was up at first half, and something I really appreciated. I know, you see the boys kind of get excited, but when the coaching staff gets excited, man, that just it just pulls the crowd right down there to the field with you.
Well, and the situation's this: we try not to be over emotional because I think emotion really gets you beat more times than it helps you. But I think when you're kind of fighting for your life, as a team, that there better be something behind it. Because it's important. And I know if you go down and start your region 0-1, I know it's like playing in a loser's bracket in softball. It's hard to climb out of it, and you give yourself very little room for error then. And we knew that I knew when we got rolling, I said this is a winnable game, and our kids were playing hard, so we just wanted to keep that momentum kind of going.
Well, I had told my classes and several people that asked me what my thoughts on that game, what it was going to be, and I may have mentioned it last week on the show. I wasn't predicting a victory by no means, but I felt like something special could happen, and sure enough, it did. And everything just kind of meshed together. Defensively, we've been pretty solid. Our offense has come around. And you can give us the numbers in just a moment on that, but it was just an overall, just a great effort by our football team. And I want to elaborate one more time on, you expressed this last week, our first 4 games were pretty challenging, and that prepared us for last Friday night.
Sure.
It prepared us for last Friday night. And I'll be honest with you, and they might be watching this show, I don't know, but I don't think Jeff Davis's first 4 games prepared them for what they were going to be up against last Friday.
Well, I don't know if many people, in our region have played. Swainsboro's played a very difficult schedule as well. But, you look at this week, we start our season with 6 playoff opponents from last year. So our first 6 games are against teams that made the playoffs, which obviously means that there's something to the program.
Right.
And I don't know if you'll find anybody else in the South Georgia that's done that. I mean, maybe Thomasville, maybe not. But, you know, we have sought out a challenging schedule, and you do that for this reason. Our goal is not to go 4-0. You know, last year we were going nuts. We were 4-0. That's not our goal. Our goal is to be in the state playoffs and have a chance to compete for a state championship.
That's right.
Because you can go 4-0 every year, and if you don't make the playoffs, you really, what have you done?
No.
So I like to where we're at this year. You know, of course, we'd like to be 5-0 right now, but that ain't the way it is. But our guys have been battle tested. I think it exposed some areas that we need to get better on in a hurry, and that's probably sped up the process of this team getting a little better. Is having to, you know, really do it out of necessity. Because if we keep doing what we're doing and not being successful at, then we're going to be in trouble and we're not going to get any better. And I think our coaching staff's done a real good job of making adjustments and getting the right people on the field anyway.
Well, Coach, it was obvious, I guess, just the fact that we scored some points and a good many, 24 points.
Well, it had been 1 month and 2 days since we scored a point.
That's right.
1 month and 2 days, which is unbelievable to me.
Well, it was obvious that, at least to the folks watching and on our broadcast and in the stands, that our offense appeared to improve, but I saw improvement in our defense as well.
Sure.
So the kids were flying around, making some big plays.
I thought we were really good in the secondary. I thought, you know, that we had 3 busts back there, but it was nothing we can't fix. You know, it was mostly inexperience. But I thought the secondary really did a good job of tackling. I thought they were doing a good job of not giving up the big play. We gave up several hitches.
Sure.
But guess what? Hitches don't get you beat. You know, it's the verticals that get you beat, and we did a really good job of that. So I was pleased overall. You know, I thought we really, if you want to be honest, we won the game with defensive line. I thought they really won the game for us and limited what Jeff Davis was able to do. And they're a run-heavy team. And we had said earlier in the week, if they throw it more than 5 times, we got a chance to win. And I think they probably ended up throwing like 12 times.
12 times, I believe it.
So for them, that's a whole lot. That's more passes than they've probably thrown all year combined. And so we put them in a position where they didn't want to be, and a place that we're comfortable in.
That's right. And we've been, you know, our defense hasn't shied away from Fitzgerald, hadn't shied away from Pierce County. That game was a 7-point game. It should have been probably at worst at halftime, where we were hitting people. And I just don't think Jeff Davis has played a team quite as physical, even though we're not real big as we were. And, you know, they ran the ball a little bit early, but some of them guys started tippy-toeing there at second half.
Well, it's like this. If you got a nice pair of leather shoes and you keep wearing them and beating on them and everything else, they get a little harder, they get a little more sturdy, and I think that's kind of where our defense is now. We've been beat up a little bit and slapped around, and now they're real sturdy, and we feel good about playing anybody from here on out, and have a lot of confidence in them, a lot of trust in them.
Well, Coach, tell us a little bit about those offensive numbers and the kids that stand out there.
We were, I think, 187 yards total offense. Xavier had 87 yards rushing on, I think, 13 carries, which is nice. That's a good night. And then Isaiah had around 30 yards, and then Cooper made up the difference on the running. And then receiving-wise, Jordan had a big touchdown catch, 27 yards, I guess it was. But Lawton ended up having 3 catches on the night for about 35, 40 yards. So
big catches.
Yeah, and that was a good one to get us started. We ran a little bench route, and he caught it, and so that got us going, kind of let us breathe a little bit. What's ironic and funny to me is I've had more people tell me I called such a good game offensively Friday night, but I'm telling you, we did nothing different Friday night than we've done the last 4 weeks.
Just able to execute.
And we just made plays.
That's right.
And when our kids make plays, we're good.
Yeah.
If they don't make plays, we're not very good. And that goes for any team in America.
That's exactly right.
But you know, I thought to be able to make plays in a tough situation like that, and in a kind of a exciting situation like that, I think was good for us. And we know we can do it now. So the expectation's been set, and so we're going to hold them to that standard now. We know they can make plays. I'm not going to sit around and baby them and coddle them and feel sorry for them. You make plays and go make them. And we did all that without JP having a catch, which is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Our 2-time all-region receiver. So we got to do a better job getting him the ball for sure to help us put more points on the board. But thank goodness we made the plays we did.
Well, Coach, let's touch on one more thing I want to bring up. if you wasn't at the game, you're watching this show, or wasn't watching the broadcast, or haven't watched it on demand yet, I encourage you to go back. We had something pretty special happen Friday night. Number one, you don't see a kick of that magnitude or that distance very often in high school football. And then number two, it was able to break a long-standing Bacon County high school record. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, we got down late in the fourth, or middleways fourth quarter, and got a chance on a 4th and 4. We were kind of stuck in between. I was probably leaning more toward going for it, and because I felt like we had a good play call too, but Coach Bordeaux really felt like we could make that one. Ronaldo could make that from 50, and so we gave him a shot, had it right in the middle of the field, and he stuck it through. It probably would have been good from 52 or 53. And 53 is about his max. I've seen him hit a 53-yarder, but, you know, that's a long kick by anybody's standards, and he really hit it good. Boy, he hit it good. When he did that, you could just sort of feel the air come out of their sidelines a little bit.
That's right.
Because they'd set up for fake. You know, they had people back, and they were expecting us to fake it all the way. We got no pressure from the interior linemen, so it made it for a pretty easy kick for him, to be honest with you.
Well, we were all excited in the booth, and the fans just went slam nuts. And again, that's something you just don't see that often. I think he kicked a 46 last year.
Yeah, a couple. He's had a 48 at Swainsboro a couple years ago, and then 46 or so last year.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's got plenty of leg, and if we can get him a snap and a hold, then he's always plenty good for it. And it's one good thing knowing if the game comes down to it. If the game comes down on the line and we got to make a kick to win it, I know it happened in the play-in game last year where we had a chance at a 49, 48-yarder. But, yeah, I tell you what, if we had to do it again, I believe he'd make it this time.
Yeah. Well, we're going to take a break on that, and when we come back, we're going to discuss where we're headed this week. So we'll be back in just a moment.
It's nothing personal. It's just business.
Hello?
That's how some people do things.
Right away.
To us, everything we do is personal. Because anyone can answer the call. It's who shows up that matters most. That's the quality of your independent agent and the company that stands behind them.
Bennett Bennett & Johnson Insurance Agency in Alma is your local independent auto owners insurance agency.
Back to the Red Raider Coaches Show. My name is Brent Johnson, along with head coach Kyle Langford. Thank you for joining us on this 5th edition of the Coaches Show. We just wrapped up homecoming week, a big region victory against the Jeff Davis Yellow Jackets. We are 1-0 in region play, and sitting atop that board with a couple other teams. One of those teams, Coach, we're going to see this week. The Toombs County Bulldogs will be headed to Lyons this Friday night. Pretty unique place. I like the venue as a whole. I think they got some issues, you know,
It's just a little dated
around the field as far as there's not a lot of room there. Sets itself up for potential injuries. But overall, you know, that the environment, they call it the pit. Is that correct?
That sounds correct. That sounds right.
But we're going to be playing the Bulldogs this week. Let's tell us what we can expect, Coach.
Well, if you'll remember back to last year, how, you know, they're going to be physical. Coach Richie Marsh, who I've known for a long time, is a very good coach, and they're going to be well coached. They're going to be physical, and they're not going to beat themselves. That much you can count on. Just from looking at it on film, obviously they're a lot bigger than us, as everybody will be. I think they've got good perimeter players. I think they've got a lot of speed on perimeter, especially on defense. The quarterback looks like a big kid, looks like he's 6'3" or so, and really got a lot of poise. Left-handed kid, but he extends plays, you know, and he's not scared to run it.
Is he the McBride kid?
No, he graduated.
He graduated,
last year.
okay.
And this new kid, but I think he's a good player. They've got two running backs that remind me a lot of our running backs, and they can really probably a little faster than our guys, maybe a little bigger, but very similar in style. And up front, they've got some monsters, boy. They've got three guys that look like they're well over 300 pounds, and that I think it's a left guard, number 73, 78. He's huge, boy. He looks like he might be 320. And so we'll have our work cut out for us. They're a hard-nosed team, just as always, and they're perfectly content, kind of like they were last year, just to pound you and try to pound you in submission, and that's kind of what their MO is. Receiving-wise, they're going to run it, and then take a shot throwing, and they've had some success. Lord, they've won 3 games this year and beat 3 good teams doing it, and so they're plenty good. We'll have our work cut out for us, but you know, really the only thing that's important to us is being 1-0 at the end of this Friday night. If we're 1-0 this week, we'll be very happy, and then we'll figure out the rest of it after that.
Well, Coach, what you said the run style, and forgive me, I don't remember exactly. They run out of a single bag, or is it?
Well, what they'll have is they'll have, for the most part, they'll have twins with a flex or a tight end. They'll have an up back or a full back. And then they'll have tailback. It's kind of offsetting the pistol behind the quarterback. Okay. And they'll run zone and some power and some outside zone, things like that. And then sometimes they'll tighten it back down and give you a pro look with the tight end, 2 receivers, and 2 backs also. So they do a little bit of both. Defensively, they're going to be an odd front, which means they'll have 3 down linemen most of the night. But they will walk those outside backers up, too, to make it look like a 52. I know that's Richie's very fond of that, or Coach Marsh is very fond of that. So, you know, that's something we fully expect too. The good news is, defensively, it's very similar to what Jeff Davis did, except with the coverage. Their coverage is a little bit different on the back end of Jeff Davis, but very, very similar. So there's not going to be a big learning curve for our offense this week, because it's basically the same thing.
Well, how important is well, they're all important, I know, but how important is it for us to maybe go over and snatch a win?
Well, you know, it's going to be very difficult, because I do think they are, you know, this is probably one of the better teams they've had, and they've been good the last several years, last 2 years, I know, ever since Coach Marsh has gotten there. So to beat them, we will have to play above and beyond. You know, it don't take a great team to get up and play hard one night and get it done. It takes a great team to get up every week and play hard and get it done. And now this is where it counts, and we understand that. And so that's the only reason we're going over there is to win.
Now, they lost a few kids last year, but this is basically the same team that beat Fitzgerald a year ago in the playoffs, wasn't it?
Beat them in the playoffs last year, and beat them really physically. And that's what you're going to get. I mean, I'm just telling you, it's going to be a physical game. And there's probably going to be some blood loss on that field Friday night, because I know we're going to play hard and physical, and they will too. And if we think back to 3 years ago, that's when I talked to Coach Marsh about their physicality. And that's when we kind of, if you want to recall back in time, maybe 5 years ago, maybe 4 years ago, even 3 years ago, we weren't the most physical team in the world. And that's one thing that used to just drive me nuts, is how we weren't very physical. And now, over the evolution of it, if you look now, here we are sitting today, and now I think we're one of the most physical teams in this area, you know, for what we got. And we play really hard, and we'll hit you. And our defense really does a good job. And we're physical up front on offensive line, too. So I think we kind of mirror each other a lot on what we do. And it's going to come down to the team that plays with the most poise and the team that makes the less mistakes, you know, and that's just, I guess that's for any game, though.
Sure, sure. Well, I tell you what, we want to encourage you to take that. I think it's a short drive, about 50 minutes straight up US 1.
We had a great crowd last year. Last year,
Yeah.
I remember we packed the stands out, and maybe they got them concrete bleachers fixed this year, so we ain't got to fall through this core of the earth, you know.
Hey, that's right. It is an older stadium. Bring your pad for your rumpus to sit on.
Or just stand up all night.
That's
You
it.
just
Stand up and cheer all night. I just know from broadcasting standpoint, we're almost at field level. We're probably about 10 feet above field level trying to broadcast from there on that away side, and that's always a challenge. But encourage you to make that short drive, 50 minutes. Find you a place to eat over there, or pick you up some Subway or something here on the way. Dairy Queen. But we'd like to see you over there Friday night for our second region game that's going to be, you know, important for all parties involved, and as we continue our trek to make it to the state playoffs, Coach, and that's the bottom line. Is it still true? You win 3, you're in?
We don't know.
Unless there's some crazy.
It's probably a little early for that thinking. I don't know, but yeah, we need to win this week. I mean, for sure, we need to go out and play well. If you just play well, you know, I'm not going to stay awake at night. Dear God, help us win and all that. You know, we want to play well. If you play hard, play well. Sometimes you play great and you still get beat. Sometimes you don't play as well and you win. So I mean, I don't know which is more valuable, but I know we want to play hard and do what a coach should do. And if we do that, I'm going to be okay either way.
So join us Friday night in Lyons, Georgia, as we'll be playing in the pit, I believe they call it, as the Toombs County Bulldogs will host your Bacon County Red Raiders. So thank you again for joining us on the Red Raider Coaches Show. We'll see you next week.
Yes, three get us in. 3 might get us a 3 seed too.
Andy Cawthorn Auto Sales is located US 1 South in Alma, Georgia. Andy specializes in late model cars and trucks with financing available. Andy has been in the automobile business for 30 years and over 10 years in Alma. Come experience the hometown friendly service at Andy Cawthorn Auto Sales. Like them on Facebook for the latest deals.